Netflix has released a film called Roxanne Roxanne, based upon the life and times of early 80s rapper Roxanne Shanté. It's been received quite well. It came out of nowhere. I had no idea they were doing like a biopic of this young lady. She hasn't been at all in the mainstream media of late. So, as I said, out of nowhere, this one came. We reviewed it, and we're gonna go in.
Yeah, man, I've watched it. I watched it. Definitely, I would say to anybody out there, if you've got Netflix, even if you haven't, watch it because overall, it's a film as well. It's a good film, just documenting this lady's life, like showing like the adversity she faced and different personal life issues, and it was well put together. And this is what I always say, going back to a few shows ago, that Netflix are very good because in no other situation I see this film getting released. I can't see this film being a cinematic release, is what I'm trying to say. So it's definitely a straight to DVD type film, but a very good watch. And this lady faced some serious adversity because the film was showing the mother who, which in a lot of cases, a lot of mums make bad decisions, and you can't really say that she's at fault for any of the decisions that she made, but they were bad decisions. Like, there's going to be some spoilers if you haven't watched it, but like there's a part in it when I think the turning point was, because even beforehand, the mum was very aggressive towards the young lady, and I know especially in them days, a lot of black mothers were like that because that was the way to be. You had to get your children ready for this cold world, but there was a situation which was
Yes.
which is quite heartbreaking, where this mum was focused and had her eyes on getting the family out of the hood, out of the projects. That's what you call it in America. Because it's in Queensbridge, and she had put money aside, and she came up on about, I think she had about $20,000, which in them days, that's a very large amount of money for somebody who's a working class individual. And the boyfriend that she was with, I believe he was not the father of any of Roxanne's siblings or the father of Roxanne. And she gave this man the money with a lot of trust, and he ran off. And that was a heartbreaking turning point in her life, because after that, the mom was so cold and she was terrible towards the men. She had a hatred of men, which we're going to get back to, because a lot of women have a hatred of men based on what one man's done to them. So what was your views, Noble, before we dive deeper into this?
It was powerful, man. It was powerful, as you said. It was a very well put together biopic. The cinematography was good. The casting was good. I thought the young lady who played Roxanne Shanté played her very well. And obviously, I've never met the real life character, but she got the persona across. She really nailed that part, as they would say. I didn't appreciate all of the. I knew she must have faced adversity, definitely growing up in those sort of times, but I didn't appreciate the levels of depravity which were going on all around her at that point, and unsavory elements, should we say, influencing her, and then people within the up and coming industry sort of taking advantage and stuff. So it was a very good movie, and definitely if you haven't got your Netflix, then however you need to do, definitely peep this year, man.
Well, let's look at the element of Roxanne's. Let's talk about Roxanne's life choices, because it was no doubt for that time she was a talented rapper, very talented rapper, and she was forced to grow up overnight, realistically, after that situation with the $20,000, where her mum had completely lost the plot, became an alcoholic, and Roxanne was sort of the child that she chose to take this out on. There was very strict rules within this household, but it pushed them into the arms of drug dealers and that type of individual, because she made the song, which the Netflix film didn't actually talk much about the music career. It was more about outside of the music career. So she made the song, and the song, how it was shown in the movie, it was almost an instant success because she made the song, and by the time the film moved to the next scene, the song was playing on mainstream radio. So the success was almost overnight. And from there, you had these grown men who was just all over her. And I believe that she never had much of a safety blanket, because even when her mum kicked her out the house, and this is a very powerful scene that took place, her mum, she didn't kick her out, but it was untenable. How she was living at the mum's house, it was impossible to live within those circumstances. So one of her friends who was a hustler, he offered to put her up in a little space, and this is prior to making the record. He put her up in this little space, and she looked at this man, how it was shown in the film. I have to say that she looked at this man as a friend, just by the way they used to talk, they used to joke around together, and he asked her to keep putting the rent in a jar, and that's what she did. She kept putting the rent in this jar till it was almost at a stage where she said in the film, "Look, you ain't even collected the rent yet." But she had on these kind of like netball short type things, like basketball shorts of them days, and like a little top. And this man was high. He was definitely high. You could see that he was under some type of pressure from whatever the lifestyle he's living. And he looked at Roxanne.
Hey King, just before he went in and did what he was going to do, he went into the kitchen.
Yes.
And he took some white powder and put it on his hands, and he bumped that there. So he was under the influence of cocaine, possibly even mixed with heroin.
Okay, so because when I was watching the film, I remember thinking to myself, because they did show it, and he did seem, compared to the other scenes he was in, he seemed very like sweaty, like he seemed very, and let's call it what it is, man, because it was a sad scene. He attempted to rape her. Mm-hmm. And it was like he was so disgusted in himself when he caught himself, because it was almost like the substance he had taken turned him into somebody else. And he was so disgusted in himself that he wanted her out, because it's like he was scared of what he was going to do to her. And this is why it's very important when mothers watch this film, of what sometimes you're kicking your child out, and you're kicking them out into a very harsh reality, where even though it was hard at home, how much it's supposed that rape had been successful.
That would have changed the whole dynamics of it. I mean, she put her out into that unforgiving world. And prior to him doing that bump, let's just rewind on that. Before he tooted that line, he was like, "Yo, what you doing walking around here like that? You can't make mans be seeing you like that." Implying that you're showing your womanhood off to everybody, and they're going to try to do something. So it was kind of, looking back at it now, it was kind of like he said that, he then did this drug, and then he did what he said would happen if you walk around like that kind of thing. So it was almost a lesson of sorts, because straight after he caught himself, he was like, "Nah, get out. You got to leave now. Today, you've got to leave right now. So it was kind of like, as I say, in hindsight, I'm thinking, was this some kind of subtle, overt, well, no, more than an overt way of showing her, look, you're a woman now. You're not just a young girl. You're developing and stuff, and people will put it on you, man.
And he became that person that he was talking about. He became that person, but it forced her to go back home. It forced Roxanne back home, and when she got back home, it was almost like the mum was even worse then. And I was watching an interview with the actual Roxanne, the real life Roxanne, and she said her and her mum, the dynamic of the relationship.